Okay, guys, so we are live, and as you can see, we're in a different spot today. There's a meeting going on in our usual spot, so Lola and I hunted down an awesome new location for our live stream this week, and I'm absolutely in love with it. If you've never been down here, this is actually in the middle of our kids section. It's the back corner next to our amphitheater where there's lots of space to read and have fun, cozy chairs, things like that. So if you haven't come and check this section out, you are missing out on one of the coolest spots in the store.
Yeah. This is where my kids make a beeline for.
This is where I make a beeline for. Here and the teen section are pretty much if you ask me where anything else is in the store, I might look at you blankly. So we are excited to be here as usual. It's Teen Thursday. It's 11-ish. So sorry for being a little late. Like we said, we had to build this.
And, oh wow! It shows up at the top.
It's so pretty.
Fancy.
Fancy. And as usual, I'm Shannon. I'm the teen specialist here at BookPeople. Hang out with the Teen Press Corps all the time, where we do tons of amazing fun things. So if you are a teenager in the city of Austin or the surrounding area and you love YA books, you should come in. Or send me an email at shannon@bookpeople.com or teenpresscorps@bookpeople.com, and you can join us and talk about teen books with us as well. To my right, I have the lovely Lola.
Hi, I'm Lola Watson, and I work on the floor. Sometimes I take a break while I finish my thesis, and now I'm just filling in. Shannon and I bonded over really loving YA books, even though we're like fully adults. So if you're like me and you're catching up on all the awesome YA that's been put out in the past like 10 years, because YA wasn't a thing when I was growing up, I went from like Wizard of Oz to like fully adult fantasy books, and now there's all this great in between, and I love it.
It's so great. I tell teens all the time, like when we'll do like field trips, and I'll go into schools and I'll talk to them, and I always tell teens, like they'll say, oh yeah, I love teen books, but like I hated Twilight, and I'm like, well, you have to love Twilight if you love the YA section in your store, because it is one of the founding like reasons why we have such huge YA sections in stores now, and it really changed the way, like the mass quantity of YA, and it's great, and so love it even if you don't love it, because it brought you
all
this beautiful other stuff. So, which is great.
A lot of which was a reaction to.
Yes. So, and now we have so much like epic fantasy. We've got so many great like contemporary stories, voices that we've never heard before being showcased, and we're going to showcase all of the ones that came out this weekend. Yeah. We've got a lot of good ones this week too, and I'm excited.
Speaking of, I can start with Love and Other Carnivorous Plants, which is not heteronormative. It sounds so cute. It's like a early college story about two girls, Danny and Sarah, who said they were going to be best friends forever. But Sarah goes off to an Ivy League school and kind of leaves Danny behind. And their big plan was to be like pre-med, and then, and Danny is struggling. She hasn't admitted to her best friend Sarah that she's being treated for an eating disorder, and while she's in treatment, she falls for an older, edgier girl.
Ooh.
And it's about friendship, and also like those early days of like leaving behind all of these things that you planned to do when you were younger, and then actually like being in the thick of doing those things, and that it wasn't all that you imagined.
Hi, James. Sorry, we got a comment, so I just wanted to say hi. If you guys have questions, comments, concerns, you just want to say hi, throw it out there. Lola and I will gladly answer whatever we can, or anything like that.
But I really love, they describe the writer's voice as unfiltered, darkly funny, and I'm like, yes, here for that.
I actually like the tagline, "Why is the universe determined to eat me alive?" I'm like, some days it feels like that. Some days you just feel like the universe is personally coming after you, and you're like, oh my god, what do I do with these feelings? This book is going to show you through that. It's going to, in a lot of humor.
Yeah.
So, which is exactly how what it takes to survive the way the universe wants to treat you. Guys, this has happened. We just had a conversation about this on Instagram. But the moment is here. The Red Queen series is finally coming to an end. So if you've been reading Victoria Aveyard's Red Queen series, you know that this is one of those epic fantasies that you fall into and you can't crawl back out of. And now you can do it all at one time because the series has come to an end. No more of that horrible, what do I do with my life because I don't know what's going to happen for another year or two moments. The series is finally at its end and you can buy all of them. And I think we might even still have the hardcover
the
3-pack.
Oh,
I think we have the hardcover collection. So if
also
so,
we
you
did
can
have
keep your books
they re-released the first one in this like beautiful edition with like red what's this called? Red in
like
pages or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Like all of the pages on the outside were like red and it was very
full
fancy.
of blood.
Well, and I will say it's definitely like a Hunger Games meets Sarah J. Maas kind of thing.
Can you get like a better description? Hunger Games meets Sarah J. Maas. Like,
yeah.
Speaking of Sarah J. Maas, it was just announced today that she's got an adult fantasy series coming out. So for all of you Sarah J. Maas fans who need more in your life, it's kind of like you do Throne of Glass and then you do Avatar, which is more new adult in my opinion than Throne of Glass, and then now there's like an adult fantasy, so you can actually like step up all the way through. So, but you have Xander's review for Red Queen.
Oh yeah, I can read it
before, right?
So Xander's in our teen press corps, and he is the everything.
If you don't know Xander, I don't know how that's possible. But if you do know Xander, if you don't know Xander and you want to check out his reviews, you can always find them on our BookPeople Teen Press Corps blog or on his own Forever Bookish blog.
Like at the he has his own blog, and he's had his own blog and is like known by like writers
since he was like 9. He's my hero.
At the Teen Book Festival, like he introduced himself to one of the writers that I was helping at the signing line, and he's like, "I'm Xander," and then he hands her a card. Like he has his own card.
Super.
I don't even have my shit. Anyway, so Xander says Mare is a red blood who lives in the kingdom of Norta. She's a pickpocket, which she must be to survive. Then one night, Mare's life takes a turn. The day after a meeting with a strange man at a bar, she gets taken to the palace to be a servant, but soon her situation escalates to much more than that. Mare gets thrust into a world of lies and a new life because of her unique power in red blood. If she bleeds red in a palace full of people who bleed silver, it's all over. With the Scarlet Guard threatening the kingdom, the stakes are high. An epic, lush fantasy, Victoria Aveyard creates a world with aspects from other books and takes it to a whole new level. So there's definitely that like element from Hunger Games where she's like more like of the common people, and there's like this lavish like ruling class. But in her fantasy world, like there is an actual like the way they decide who is of the ruling class and who is of the lower class is their blood. Like people who have silver blood also have like special powers. And but it turns out that Mare is a red blood but has special powers. And whenever the ruling family finds that out, they're like, well, we can't let people know that this is a thing, so we're going to pretend that you're some long lost daughter of a silver, and now you're engaged to the prince. And then, like, of course, the stranger that she meets in the beginning of the book is actually the other prince, and all kinds of love triangle things happen. But also there's, the element of Hunger Games of that like ruling class and the uprising of people who don't want to be oppressed, which I think YA does really well.
I absolutely agree, and I talk about that a lot. Is the thing I love the most about YA books is if there's something wrong, they start a rebellion, and they don't just sit back and say, "Oh my God, there's something wrong." They're like, "Oh my God, there's something wrong. Let's take over. We gotta stop this." And I'm like, "That's exactly what I want. Everything. Let's do it."
Well, there's also this element that like all of the young red bloods are drafted into a war that they really have no idea why they're fighting this war. So there's also like that aspect, like her best friend from growing up is trying to escape that draft, and
So when these books first came out, like because it was called Red Queen, I was like, oh, it's an Alice in Wonderland retelling.
I thought it was too.
And then I was like, oh, this is not, and this is awesome. Also, hi Chris, I just saw your like yelling for BookPeople, so hi, welcome. Yeah, I really thought that it was. So for those of you who were like, oh, I'm not, which is really funny because I'm wearing an Alice in Wonderland shirt as I say this. But for those of you who are like, oh, like I don't really want another retelling, or I don't want to.
Although there is a Shakespeare reference for Uber nerds because the stranger she meets, they call him Cal. And if you've ever read the Henry IV and Henry V history plays, the prince, whenever he goes in disguise among the common people, his name is Hal. And actually, I named my son after that because I'm an Uber nerd.
Wow. Okay.
That's my meaning for Hal's name.
You named him Hal after Hal Jordan.
Also after Hal Jordan. That's okay. My husband. If you ask my husband, it's Hal Jordan. If you ask me, it's after Shakespeare.
I've been telling everybody you named your kid after Hal Jordan.
It's both. And 2001: Space Odyssey.
Okay. Cool. I mean, it's
all kids are evil robots. So.
We're sitting in the kids section, so
I don't think Hal from 2001 is actually evil, but that's a whole
other discussion. Speaking of like fantasy and Stranger Things happening, not Stranger Things the show. Don't get excited, guys. This is not a Stranger Things book, but strange things happening. We actually have Out of the Blue, which is Sophie Cameron. I love this cover, and I think it kind of gives you like a perfect description of what's happening, and you can kind of see the little falling person right there. So this book is otherworldly beings are falling from the sky, and it seems like that's like where the world would end, but apparently this is not. Of course, this is where our story begins, and this is going to be one of those light summer fantasy reads because it's not very thick, but it seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. It kind of reminds me of Cynthia Hand. And the series she did, because it does start with like that angelic style of being, but
is this the first one in a series or is it a standalone? Do we know?
I don't
It feels
know.
like the beginning of a series.
It's got a feather embossed on here that you could not see when I did that, so it's fine. I don't know if it's gonna be the beginning of a series. There's not. I did undress that one, but it doesn't really look like there's anything. And without reading the spoilers, without reading spoilers at the end, I'm not sure. But it is. It's set against the backdrop of society trying to come to grips with the possibility of worlds beyond our own, and how do you deal with one expected turn of events that put you on a path toward healing? We've got a main character whose mom is passed, and her dad's obsessed with finding the mysterious winged beings that are falling from the sky. So none of them have survived when they've fallen, and so there's a female being that lands near them and stays alive, and this is the first time that this happens. And so the main character is like, how do I like nurse this being, bring it back to life? What does this mean? What is like how? And it's great because it's kind of like the whole story is kind of a metaphor for the fact that she's still trying to heal from what's happened with like her mother, and like her dad is obviously looking for a way to heal himself by searching for these winged beings. So it's
wasn't Skelling like that?
So.
Where there was like a monster or some kind of being in his garage, and at the same time he was dealing with like anxiety about his his baby sister being sick.
Maybe. I also think that when I hear about people finding creatures and putting them in their garage to save them, I think of Prancer every time. So I'm like, yeah, it's like Prancer.
I thought you were gonna say E.T., which I was terrified of.
I avoid E.T. with utmost cost. I have childhood trauma or middle school trauma towards E.T. It's a very long story, but long story short is that boys are mean, and I used to get made fun of and called E.T. in middle school. Because I was in the 90s where like the sunglasses were all curved, and I was like super skinny because I did a lot of sports and a lot of like theater and stuff. And so I have long fingers, so I used to get called E.T. And people used to offer me like Reese's Pieces and stuff. So I'm really bitter towards E.T.
I'm sorry.
But
I had childhood trauma.
Was cool. He was a
with it too. My neighbor used to babysit me, and I was like probably 3 or 4, and they showed it to me as 3 or 4, and I mean it's like very cinematic, and I'm really sensitive to things like that, like the music building up or like things being dark or light. And apparently I like freaked out so bad that they had to call my mom to come get me early from whatever
slumber party or
day that my parents were on.
The next book is not on this table. I spent forever looking for it. It may be the other reason that we were late. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm sure it's in the store somewhere.
But we have to talk about it.
I just couldn't find it, so I have to talk about it anyway. But there's a book out this week that is called like a blending of Stephanie Perkins and Maureen Johnson. But it's called My So-Called Bollywood Life, and guys, oh my god, I'm so excited about this book.
I've been excited too.
Like,
I've heard
no
lots
idea.
of good stuff about it.
If you have a book and if you have anything and it's got to do with Bollywood, I'm already there. But this is a great story about like a girl who's like, oh, I'm not convinced like this is the boy for me. Like this isn't gonna work. This isn't my perfect ending. This isn't how it's supposed to be scripted. She's a filmmaker. She's a film geek, and she's like into everything. And so then there's Dev, and Dev is also a film geek and one of the few people she can count on. And he's smart and charming, and he challenges her to like look beyond her horoscope and find someone she'd pick for herself. But does falling for Dev mean giving up on her prophecy and her chance at a completely happily ever after? So she has to find help from fate, her family, and of course a Bollywood movie star. And guys, I'm dying. Like I'm so excited about this book.
Here for this.
Every time I like hear somebody mention it, I'm like, yes, I know. It's gonna be great. So My So-Called Bollywood Life, we do have copies in the store. Just don't ask me personally to find them for you because apparently that is not my skill set. But it is here, and it's gonna be amazing. And if you guys have not.
We can also always order things.
Always. So if for some reason
it only takes 3 to 5 business days for most things that are like in print or whatever, as long as I say that.
As long as they're available.
Yeah, because some things like when we got the Obama portrait book that
that's totally different.
That like went out of print. Anyway, but like most like these kinds of books, you could call and have something ordered for you, and it would get here like that.
Like instantly. So
this sounds so cool.
Go for it. You want to tell them about it?
Yeah. So I'm still not 100% sure on what happens, but I think that's part of like the mystery. But there's like these 3 friends, and they're obsessed with this book called Undertow. And they meet the author and like somehow get involved with the author, but then things somehow go horribly wrong. Again, I'm still not really sure. I'm like guessing and hoping that someone dies.
Mystery thriller is hot right now in YA, so it might be.
I love the like meta, like that it's about a writer, and it seems like because the little like summaries are from each point of view, so it seems like it has multiple points of view, and it seems like the author that they meet and like become friends with is kind of like almost like studying them and maybe like uses their stories or something, because it says that they like use her. But the book itself is really cool because it has like diary entries and like blogs and stuff like embedded in. Like this is like from a New York City magazine or something. Like, so I love books like that have that multimedia aspect to them, because it's just a really cool way to tell a story.
Do you like it?
It definitely has multiple points of view.
Ooh, and it's not separate chapters. It's separate parts of chapters, which I love when they do that, when it's not just like you have to be in a certain like chapter.
It looks like the chapters are really
short.
Yeah, which I love because, you know, short attention span.
Yeah, that's supposed to be.
This sounds like so good.
I'm really excited. We are all that's left. 2 lives, 2 worlds apart. A powerful story of the brutality of war, trauma, and a hope that binds us together. This book actually takes place in both Bosnia and the United States. It spans decades and generations around the brutality of war and the trauma of everyday life after war, which I think is such an extraordinary concept for a book. And actually, like, for my generation, I'm actually surprised I haven't seen a lot more books about Bosnia. I feel like there wasn't, like that's one of those, like when I was in middle school, like I actually had a teacher who left to go back to fighting in Bosnia with the military and stuff. So
the main character is supposed to be a photographer, so they have these beautiful photographs on the front. I love it.
I am all about that. And this is Sarah and her mother have a strained relationship. Her mom doesn't understand her creative passion, her self-expression, and she doesn't understand why she wants to go that direction. And when the bombs explode at their local shopping farmers market in Rhode Island, Zara is left with PTSD, and her mom is left in a coma. Without the chance to get to know her mother, Zara is left with questions not just about her mother, but about her faith, religion, history, and her own path forward. And so through this, like she meets people whose family members are also in the hospital, and they start like exploring the concept of their religion and their philosophy. They find like comfort in each other, as well as like somebody, having somebody who thinks like them and different at the same time. And the chapters alternate between Zara's present day time in Rhode Island and her mom's childhood in Bosnia.
Wow.
And during the Bosnian War of the 90s. So like I said, like for me, like I really like that was one of those things, like nobody was talking about it.
I heard about it, but I
exactly, like I knew the word.
About it,
I knew the words, and that's like what people were doing. It's the reason, like my algebra, like I said, my algebra teacher left. It's the reason I didn't learn algebra. But we, I never understood, like I never got to hear more of the stories of the people. And so for me, this is a really great opportunity to experience something and see that story like come to life in a way that also is so relevant to now, because like it says, like she's in a bombing in Rhode Island, and that's like we don't compare what's happening in America to things that happen in those other countries, because their country's so spread out and these things happen so far apart, and there's like distance wise. But in reality, a lot of it is very similar to what some of those experiences that like were people had, and so it's great to see those two stories paralleled with each other, and to see how that like helps her come to terms with her family life. So I'm really excited.
That sounds really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the last book, The Accidental Bad Girl, has blackmailed dangerous boys, cops, women who outsmart everyone and turn into their own saviors. So much fun.
I love that this is like, it's drug dealers and cops and detectives and enemies and friends, and it's like nobody's who they say they are, including the main character. I have said this 1,000 times on this live stream already, but I love unreliable narrators who end up being bad people, or flawed people, because you don't usually, you're like, oh, the narrator is the most trustworthy character in the story because they're telling me the story. And I love when we find out that the narrator is probably the least trustworthy person in the story, because it gives a different level to the story than what we think we have when we're reading it. And so I absolutely love the idea of having somebody who might not be what they say they are, and finding out that journey with them.
I did the page 69.
Yeah, what'd you get?
Kendall, talk to me, she said earnestly, grabbing my wrist. I'm your friend. Get away from me, I hissed at her, trying to extricate my arm. Audrey suddenly let go and buried her face in her hands. When she looked up, there were tears in her eyes. I would have been impressed if I hadn't been there the first time Audrey cried on demand to get out of trouble when we snuck into the hotel pool on the 8th grade field trip to D.C. But I had been the only one there, so when she did it now, a hush fell over the hallway as Audrey hunched over and her shoulders shook. When you did what you did with Grant, I was angry, but I hoped our friendship would eventually get past it, she said. Don't get me wrong, it was a real betrayal. But I told myself to remember how frustrating it must have been for you to watch your friend with the guy you secretly wanted. I felt bad for you, but it's because I assumed you liked him, not that it was about sex.
There's a lot of drama in this book.
That sounds interesting.
I'm like, that's what I got. There's going to be a lot of drama, and I don't believe anybody in that sentence. So, like, in that paragraph, I already don't trust anybody. Yeah. And I'm really excited to see where that goes. So those are the new releases this week. But we do have a lot of events coming up. First of all, this weekend is the 5 book dive. So if you love kids lit, middle grade lit, this is a great middle grade festival. It's the first one we've ever done, and it's absolutely free to attend. So if you want to go, this is in partnership with AISC. It's to kick off summer reading. Basically, the 5 book dive is a program where you get a bookmark, and you read 5 books, and you write down those 5 books, and you bring it in BookPeople, and you get a thing. Super exciting. So amazing concept, but even
you get a coupon for
I think it's
buying more books.
Yeah, to buy more books, which you'll need after you.
Which I wish they had something like that when I was growing up, because all we got was
we got free pizza from Pizza Hut. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh no. Like I'm from a small town and our library just you had to come in and like fill out these forms and then you got to like pick like a tote bag or something. It was not cool at all.
Well, in San Antonio, where I grew up, Pizza Hut used to do a thing where if you read, like I think it was 5-10 books, I don't remember what it was, it might have been 10. Whenever you were done, and it was all year long. Whenever you were done, you got a personal pizza.
I really want pizza.
And I was like, yes, this is great. I had pizza at like midnight last night. So
why am I so hungry?
Because it's lunchtime ish. But so so you come in, show that you've read your 5 books, turn it in at the register, and they'll give you a coupon voucher. In addition to that, though, we are doing what's called the 5 Book Dive Splash, Summer Splash, and that's this weekend at the Performing Arts Center, the new AISD Performing Arts Center on Barbara Jordan area up there by the Mueller Airport and Alamo Draft House. And it's going to be tons of authors. There's so many. I think Kate C. Camillo is one of the keynote speakers. Guys, I would go through the whole list, but I can't. I was like, it's
online, but they're like really great authors that even like I remember reading and would love to like meet or hang out with.
And you can come see them talk on panels. You can see all the like their keynotes. You can see things like that. But there are also going to be books for sale, and you can purchase books and get them signed by the authors during the festival, which is a great opportunity to start your signed book collection for your kids really young or for yourself, and just get really excited about all of the awesome authors that are going to be there.
For people who are new, also like middle grade is like elementary school, like
late elementary school through like early middle school
to ages like 6 to 11 or 12 would be great.
I usually, for when I book middle grade events, it's anywhere from 3rd to 6th grade, 3rd to 7th grade. So those are great, and there are lots of them that like we said, we love too. So definitely check it out. It's gonna be fun. Then coming up on, I gotta go in order here. June 2nd, Jennifer Donaldson's gonna be here. If you watched last week's live stream, you saw Ohenia tell you all about Lies You Never Told Me. It's another one of those like amazing mystery thriller, crazy like unreliable people and narrators in the story. This is a book that Ohenia is really excited about, and we're excited to have Jennifer Donaldson here talking about the book. It's going to be a great time. So that's Saturday, June 2nd at 6 p.m. You can come out here, speak, and get signed copies of the book. And then we also, on June 9th, Saturday, June 9th, 1 week after that. So we're lining up your weekends for you right now. You've got one this weekend, you got one on June 2nd, and you've got one on June 9th, which is Stephanie Garber. If you guys read the Caravel book, it's amazing. It's wonderful. It's such an adventure story, a dark adventure story.
Really unique.
And it's actually, we've got the sequel is coming out, and Stephanie will be here for Legendary, which is the name of the book, speaking and signing as well. So you can come join us for that and purchase a book. You get a signature. That's how it works. There will also be signed copies available if you can't make the event. Don't worry about that. And then in between those two events, so let me give you like a whole week right here. June 2nd, you come in, you meet Jennifer Donaldson. On Wednesday, June 6th, you come in and you talk with us about Shadow and Bone. We will be at our second Start of the Right book club, Young Adults for Adults Who Never Grow Up. We'll be talking about the first book in Leigh Bardugo's Grisha trilogy, which is amazing. And if you've never read Leigh Bardugo, this is the time to start. It's basically Russian folklore without it actually being set in Russia. It's a mythical world, but very similar. Magical powers, strong female characters, and a swoony bad guy that you just can't help but love. So
I'm excited. This is my first time reading it too, so don't feel like if you haven't read it before or whatever, you'll know like what's going on, because I won't either.
And I'm not a spoiler. So when we talk about it, we won't talk about all the things that happen at the end during the main book club. Anybody who comes who wants to stay and talk about all of the spoilery things, that is fine. If you want to come and stay and just talk for an extra hour about the Darkling, I'm totally fine with that too. Like, it's fine. 100% here for that if that's what you want to do. But we will be talking about Shadow and Bone, and actually, I say the Darkling, but there's an even better character. I'm just trying really hard not to spoil things. The Darkling's great, but there's more. So read the book, come hang out, June 6th, 7 p.m., 3rd floor, and then you'll come back on Saturday, June 9th to see Stephanie Garber at 6 p.m. I had to read that backwards. That was hard. With the 9 and the 6 right next to each other, and it being like through the paper, I was like, I'm gonna get this wrong. It's gonna be amazing. You guys definitely want to join us for that. And then in July, for all of my young readers and writers out there, all July long, we will be doing writing camps for different age ranges. So the first week of July is 4th of July. That's not the week. Don't be. But then we'll also be doing writing camps for K through 3, 4th through 6th grade, and teen writers for the month of July. So that information will be available soon on our website. I believe it's going to launch on Monday. So sneak peek into that today. And we'd love to have you join us. So check out all the information on that. And other than that, guys, we will see you at the Middle Grade Festival this weekend for the 5 Book Dive Summer Splash, or here in the store to pick up all of these wonderful books. If you don't follow us already on Instagram, follow us on Instagram because we will be posting more information about all of these books and the people who are excited about them today. And then check out our Teen Thursday blog and all of the reviews on all the Teen Lit coming out on the Teen Press Corps blog. So much information, so many awesome places. Please feel free to continue to leave questions, comments about the books, and we will always check back and see if there's anything we can help you with. Other than that, have a great week, guys. See you next Thursday. And I have to actually get up to turn it off this time, so you guys get the awkwardness.
You can see the beautiful mural.
Yay, keep awesome reading.